All right, welcome, folks. To been a while since we've been on the air together. Welcome, and you can see who I got with me, none other than Mr. Davey Cretin. And
Hello.
yes, we got a show for you today. We are digging deep into the archives for the top 10 tunes of,
Tesla.
yes, the great American band who never made a bad album, in
I
my
agree.
estimation. They did such a great catalog of songs, and some people might argue that they're kind of they got a lot of covers because a couple of the covers that they did actually made them high up on the charts there on their few songs that actually charted. But more on that in a little while. So this band from Sacramento, California. First album came out in 1986, Mechanical Resonance, and obviously their latest one was Shock, which came out in 2019. So we got a wide variety of catalog to go through here, and we're going to dig right in, doing something a little different this time. We're going to start off by just mentioning our top three honorable mentions, and that way you guys can get a feel of what to expect with our top 10 when you see what we got coming up with our what songs we actually mention as our honorable mentions. So, without further ado, I'm going to let you start it off with your three honorable mentions that just were maybe a little bit short of making your top 10.
Unfortunately, you are correct. Thanks for having me on again, Joseph.
Oh,
My
pleasure.
number my number 13, lucky number 13 is their I would say second biggest hit, and it features lead guitar work from Frank Hannon, one of my favorite underrated guitar players. In fact, the guitar tandem team of Frank Hannon and Tommy Scio were friggin' great, and I'm still upset that he left the band, but what can you do? It's like what's his face leaving Queensryche. Chris DeGarmo, that's his name. Flew right out of my head for a second. But at number 13, I have a love song. I think it's
Hmm.
their second highest charting hit on the Billboard charts. It's a great power ballad. And I think it's because of this song that they got lumped in unfairly with hair metal. I don't consider Tesla a hair metal band or glam band, whatever you want to call it, but a lot of people do. But that's my number 13 is Love Song. Number 12, coming in from the heavier end of the spectrum of Tesla's music, comes from their fourth studio album from 1994, Bust a Nut, which is a great underrated record. And it actually went gold. Even though it was right in the middle of grunge, they had a gold record. So grunge didn't affect Tesla. I think personalities, substances, and booze is what broke them up initially the first time. And money, of course, that always comes between everyone. Mama's Fool, the first single from the album, a 6 minute heavy song. That is my number 12. Moving on to number 11, one of their biggest hits, I would say, Heaven's Trails, No Way Out, which features lead guitar work from Tommy Scio and slide work from Frank Hannon. And Frank Hannon is a great colorist. He adds a lot of little riffs and licks, a lot of keyboard stuff. So he is great. But this song rocks, Heaven's Trails, No Way Out. And it's from the second album, The Great Radio Controversy from 1989. Those are my three honorables.
Hey, wow, what a start. Mama's Fool. That's a rare one to pull out of the old bag, considering how many great songs these guys got.
I
And
know, too many.
it shows you how close that came to making your top 10, when you got it this close here. Well, I got a couple songs here that I feel they just didn't make the top 10. We're going to start off with Psychotic from the album Psychotic Supper. My number 13 is a rare gem that never got no radio airplay, and it kind of just hides on the album because it's near the end here, and that's going to be none other than Can't Stop from Psychotic Supper. And really love that song. That was just one of those songs that kind of it was near the end of the album, just before Talk About It, another rarity. It was a song written by Jeff Keith, Frank Hannon, Tommy Scio, and Brian Wheat. That's another reason why I think that song was so good because it was they all kind of wrote it, with the exception of Troy Luccketta, who never really wrote much anyways because he was just drumming there. So the main musicians of the band wrote the song, which definitely love that one. And number 12, we're going to go into the Bust a Nut album like you did, but this time I'm going for Try So Hard. Another lost classic. It was probably the first real song that I liked from that album. The first, on the first listen, I heard it the first time and I said, "Oh man, this is great. I'm so glad." Because, like you said, it came out right in the middle of grunge, and it's not like you could hear it on the radio because by that point there was none of this music on the radio. MTV was still sometimes playing videos, like on late night, but not, yeah, very little, if anything. But that's one of those songs that had it been on probably Great Radio Controversy, it would have been more well known, widely known, much for sure. And then we're going to dig for our number 11. We're digging deep to Mechanical Resonance for the kind of ballad, We're No Good Together. I've always liked that song. It just never gets enough love, although I believe I did see them sing it live once. So
Wow.
that was cool. Some songs the band doesn't always play live, but I think they did that whole album a few years back because they made a live album called it the Mechanical Resonance Tour. So there is a live version or two out there. So if you ever want to listen to it, it's there for your pleasure and your liking there. So that's my three honorable mentions. Can't Stop, Try So Hard, We're No Good Together, and we're gonna let you go ahead with your number 10 and 9.
Okay, before I do, I just want to say quickly
Ooh,
on We're No Good Together. One of the best parts of that song is Frank Hannon on the piano, banging away on the piano. It adds a lot of texture and just a different sound to the tune. So good choice, good deep track choice. My number 10 was already mentioned by you,
of course, it had to been by me.
not by anyone else, just by you. It is Can't Stop, and it is
Oh,
from Psychotic Supper. And that is such a great, great deep track.
cheers.
The way it starts out with those rumbling, gurgling, burbling guitars and bass, and then you hear this drum sound with some kind of maybe effect on it. That it's just this weird sound the way it starts off, and then the guitars come in, and then that chorus is so darn catchy. It's like a power pop chorus with Jeff Keith, the singer. He just keeps repeating "Can't Stop," and the other guys have this like almost round robin vocal on the chorus, and it's so darn catchy. And the tune rocks. You are right. It is a great song. That's my number 10, Can't Stop. On the same record, Psychotic Supper, my number 9 song, which I think we might have a lot in common on this list because they have so many amazing songs. I'm going for the big ballad, Stir It Up, which has Tommy Scio on lead guitar. Frank Hannon played lead guitar on Can't Stop. And Stir It Up is just a great melodic song with really good acoustic guitar work. It's very catchy, it's heartfelt, and I think it's a really good deep track that should have done better as a single. So Stir It Up, my number 9, Can't Stop, my number 10.
All right, very good. Good choices. All right, number 10 for me is a little different, and it's the song I seen these boys open up with about 2 weeks ago or so here when I saw them in Lewiston, New York at Art Park. And they happened to change the set list around that particular night, and they opened up with "Rock Me to the Top," which is a
It's,
great opening song. A lot of times they've out their traditional opener would be "Coming at You Live." They've opened up with that song probably more than any other song they've ever opened up with any shows. But "Rock Me to the Top" is another great opening song, and I just was great to hear because that's the beauty of Tesla. They never play like the same exact set list. They're always rotating some songs in and out during depending on the tour. And I saw them like I believe it was about the fourth or fifth date or something like that into the next this tour, and they hadn't toured since July. So they had like a month off in between the legs of the tour for their summer run there, and it was just great to hear. So "Rock Me to the Top," man, they came firing right out of the gate with that one. It was just phenomenal. And for my number 9, I'm quickly going to go back to "Psychotic Supper." Probably, I'm not sure, but I think this song probably has the most airplay of the album from the album. and it's none other than What You Give. Classic Tesla song. Right away, as soon as those vocals come screaming out of there, you know exactly who it is. The guitar work also gives it away. Just a classic Tesla song. I'm actually surprised it isn't even lower on my list. I thought it would have been you know, even a better ranking. But all that goes to show you is I got 8 songs that are just a little bit better than it, and What You Give is my number 9.
They were both on my larger list. They didn't make the cut, unfortunately. Both songs, great choices. My number 8, moving back an album to the great Radio Controversy from 1987, and another deep track that was not a single, but is a great melodic, hard rocking song, featuring on the lead guitar Tommy Skeoch, "Making Magic."
Ah, love that song.
Excellent tune. And then moving on to number 7 from the same album, another song featuring Tommy Skeoch on the lead guitar. This was a single and a video, "The Way It Is." And I had an old friend, Howie, and he loved that song. And that was our favorite song from the album at the time. Things have changed since because I will be coming back to this record. But "The Way It Is my number 7 from 1989. And my number 8, "Making Magic," featuring Tommy Skeoch on the lead guitar on both tunes.
All right, very good. All right, so my number 8, I'm going to go back to none other than Bust a Nut. And we are pulling a song out of the hat here. It's a song that was written by Frank Hannon, Jeff Keith, and Tommy Skeoch. And it's none other than Wonderful World. One of those rare tracks that you don't get to hear every day, but I don't know, that song always resonated well with me. And I've always loved it. And yeah, just give it a listen if you're not familiar with it. I feel you're definitely going to like it. That's for sure. I mean, how can you go wrong? But Wonderful World is definitely a great song. So that's my number 8. And oddly enough, my number 7 comes from the same album, and that's going to be the gem, A Lot to Lose, Bust a Nut. This album was, it's sad because had it gotten the amount of airplay that those albums, their first 2 albums and the first 3 albums did, we'd be talking, it probably would have gone platinum for sure, but with the radio format the way it was and the way grunge was all in full force at that point. But you got to give them credit though, like you said, gold record in the middle of grunge. None of the hair bands, even though they're not, but they were lumped in with them. No, nobody was pulling out those kind of numbers selling records. So it's just amazing what they were able to do, in that period of time. And then sadly, like I said, then they broke up on that tour for that album right after it ended. Um, they actually had a open for Skinner. They were like a support act for Skinner on that tour back in 94, 95. So that's how it all came crashing to an end until they regrouped and reformed in the year 2000. So those are my 7 and 8. What do you got for number 6?
Number 6, I'm going back to the debut album from '86, "Mechanical Resonance," with the epic song featuring Frank Hannon on the lead guitar, "Changes."
Mm.
And it's like a big piano ballad, has a lot of harder rock parts, very melodic. Love it. "Changes," always a top tier Tesla tune for me. Whoa, say that 3 times fast. That just popped out perfect. I'm surprised myself with that. That wasn't even planned. And at number 5, the first track from 1989's The Great Radio Controversy, with Tommy Skeoch on lead guitar, "Hang Tough."
Mm-hmm.
Just the way it starts off with the bass, with Brian Weed on the bass, that doodle 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 doodle, and then Troy Luccketta coming in on the drums. It's just a slamming song. Great way to start an album, CD, whatever you want to call it. "Hang Tough" is just a hard rocking nugget, and it was a single. There is a video for it. Excellent tune. That is my number 6, "Changes." Number 5, "Hang Tough," which we all should do nowadays. The way the world is so crazy, we all need to hang tough, boys and girls.
Okay. So that takes care of that. My number six, didn't think the song was going to make my list because it wasn't written by them. But
Ooh, cover.
yeah, you can't hold that against somebody. A great song is a great song. It doesn't matter who writes it. And there's no doubt about it, as good as the original version is, Tesla knocked it out of the park. It's kind of like, in my estimation, I view it very parallel with what Aerosmith did to Come Together. They knocked that Beatles song right out of the park. And there's no doubt that Tesla knocked Signs out of the park. The highest charting single from the band. Oddly enough, it was a live version that was appeared on their album that came out in good old 1990, I believe, was the date of
Yep.
recorded in July of 1990 in Philadelphia. Five-man acoustical jam, kind of a little nod to five-man acoustical band. And yeah, I just feel that it's become a staple. They usually end. It's usually one of the encores. They just song has just gone over and it hasn't aged badly at all. They're still playing it live and fans are eating it up, and you can't blame them. So that's my number six, and I'm going to go to Mechanical Resonance for my number five, and that is going to be none other than Getting Better. Getting Better, a song of hope. We're hoping things will get better every day.
Mm-hmm.
But I just always love this song, the way it all, kicks into gear and everything. It's getting better every day. Just great, great song. I just can't say enough about it. But that's yeah, that's my number five. So I got six Signs, five Getting Better, and that's going to leave us with our top four remaining.
Okay, before I go into my top four, I just want to give a shout out to my old friend Gail because she wrote the liner notes on the back of the CD for Five Man Acoustical Jam.
Ah,
My old good buddy Gail. So, hi, Gail, out there in YouTube land, the local Rivet Head, as everyone used to call her on Long Island. Moving on to number four, going back to the second album, The Great Radio Controversy, an epic ballad, mini ballad, Frank Hannon on lead guitar and keyboards, Paradise. Love that song. Amazing song. It's towards the top because it's so great. My number three, also featuring Frank Hannon on lead guitar from the same record. It's the big, oh no, I'm sorry. It's from the debut album,
oh,
Mechanical Resonance. Sorry about that. The first song I ever heard by them, and I said, whoa, who is that? And I went out and bought the record on vinyl, Modern Day Cowboy, the first single from the debut album. More just great guitar work, just slamming song. And they just have such melodic hard rock songs. I wouldn't call them metal. I wouldn't call them rock. I'd say they're hard rock. They're in the Van Halen vein, and they have a lot of Zeppelin swagger. That's the
mm-hmm.
thing about Tesla. They just have cojones, to put it nicely. I won't use the other word. They just got a big pair of swinging cojones on them. And it shows through all their albums. Even the one that's slightly overproduced, especially the backing vocals by Phil Collin from Def Leppard, the last album, Shock. It still rocks,
Yep.
but it's just the backing vocals are a little almost too processed for me.
Sugary,
But
yeah, very sugary.
It's a minor quibble because they still rock. But definitely number three, Modern Day Cowboy, is a slamming song, and everyone watching this video who is a fan of Tesla knows that song. So that is my number three, Modern Day Cowboy, and number four, Paradise.
Right, very good. Yeah, just real quick on Modern Day Cowboy is first song I ever heard by him too. That was just one of those standout tracks that MTV used to play. Also, it's weird because Tesla used to always end their show with it. It definitely was always near. Nowadays, sometimes they open with it, sometimes they'll play it second. So they've kind of moved it around in the set list to freshen it up. And, no matter where they play it, it always goes over well. There's no doubt about it. Just a great song. So let's see if it makes my top four here. My number four was your number four, and that was Paradise. We agreed. Wow, amazing. And the only difference with the Paradise on the live album, Five Man Acoustical Jam, compared to the record was that Brian Wheat plays the keyboards on Paradise in
Yeah,
concert, which is great. I'm not sure which version I like better. I'm not really here to debate that. I like them both. I mean, I love Paradise when I first heard it on, the Great Radio Controversy. And then when they put it on the Five Man Acoustical Jam, I loved it just the same. So I don't know. I don't know if I could pick which version I actually like better. It's just a great song, no doubt about it. So when you had it at your number four, I said, "Yep, well, we great minds think alike sometimes." And number three is a song that I actually once talked about with Frank Hannon during an interview. And I said, "Man, how come you guys don't play this one live anymore?" And he goes, "Oh, that's a great song." And sure enough, the next time I seen him, maybe eh, less than a year later, they're opening with it. Interesting, huh? Yeah, I see. I catch these guys' ear every now and then,
yep.
and it's none other than "Lady Luck" off of the Great Radio Controversy. What a great song! I remember seeing Tesla back in that on that tour. It was Tesla, Great White, and Badlands, and yeah, oh yeah, Lady Luck. I believe they opened the show with it, and then they went right into Hang Tough, and the album is the opposite. It opens up with Hang Tough and then goes into Lady
Right.
Luck. So it's just great either way you look at it. It was just great to see it live again, and they kept it in the set for a while. It was in the set list this year as well. They kind of, they rotate songs in and out, so it's not always in there, but it was a great add-on for sure because that song, Jeff Keith just still knocks it out of the park live on that one for sure. So, Lady Luck, number three. So that's going to take us down to our final two. Hmm.
Before I give
Mm-hmm.
reveal my top two, I also have seen Tesla a bunch of times, starting in the 87, 89. I don't remember. I saw them a bunch of times in the late 80s and early 90s. And the last time I saw them, my producer, director Tia, just reminded me, we saw at Jones Beach about 5 years ago, 2019. We saw Tesla, Styx, and Joan Jett, a triple bill.
Mm.
So that was the last time I saw Tesla. And they rocked it, but a short set because they only played like a 40-minute set because they were the first of three bands. So my number two comes from Psychotic Supper. And this song was a tribute to the late, great Steeman Steve Clark from Def Leppard, who passed away. Because a few times I saw Tesla, they played with Def Leppard back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
The band's are very good friends. So I have to put Song and Emotion, which is 8.5 minutes. And it's a great song. That is their epic song. It's almost like their Stairway to Heaven. And it's a tribute to Steve Clark from Def Leppard, who passed away from drinking to excess, unfortunately. But Song and Emotion really packs it in. It has a mellow part, it has a heavy part, it has bells, and it has this great extended outro. Beautiful song. I love it. Song and Emotion, my number two. And sticking on the same album for my number one song, this has always been my favorite Tesla song since Psychotic Supper came out. I usually play it multiple times in a row. I love it. I know they've lowered the key on it because Jeff Keith just can't get up there anymore. But Edison's Medicine is my
Mm.
number one Tesla song. And that's such a slamming song. Frank Hannon again on lead guitar on both of these songs. And you could tell who plays lead guitar by whose name is in the credits first. That's how you figure out who was playing the lead guitar on every Tesla song. But on Edison's Medicine, besides the lead guitar work, Frank Hannon is playing theremin, and you see him in the video playing the theremin.
Mm-hmm.
He's also playing like a six string, I think it's a fuzz bass, and they show a brief snippet of him playing that bass in the song. So to me, the guy is the musical genius of the band. As much as I love Tommy Skeoch in the band, Frank Hannon is the man. And Edison's Medicine talks about Tesla, Marconi, Edison, who invented the radio, who did this, who did that. But it's just a great hard rocking song with amazing guitar work and Troy Lucketta's drums. Every song he brings it on. And I think the drums on this record, on Psychotic Supper, are produced a little better, and I think he's higher in the mix than on the first two records. But Troy Luquette, a great
Hmm.
drummer, and now he's not in the band anymore, unfortunately. But that is my number one, Edison's Medicine. Number two, Song and Emotion.
All right. Well, we got two different choices for me here.
Okay,
Um,
good.
yeah. So my number two is going to be a song that I never knew was actually a cover. Believe it or not, it took me a long time to realize this. I mean, I knew somebody else had written it. I just didn't know somebody else actually recorded it because I never heard their version until about 40 years later. Well, maybe not that long, but maybe 30 years later. And that's going to be none other than the great Little Susie, the first Tesla song that well, the second, I mean, Modern Day Cowboy and Little Susie. I got to see them on that tour, Mechanical Resonance.
Oh, wow.
And those are the two songs that I remembered during the show. Because, when you're seeing a band for the first time that you never heard of, never heard a note of their music, and you're seeing them live, to have two songs stick out at that point in time was just amazing. And this was the other one, Little Susie. Remember, it was later on in the set, and I just remembered, man, that song rocked, and it still rocks, and that's exactly where they always have it near the encore there. Usually, it's the first song of the encore, and they treat that song as if they did write it in a way, the way they always have it in a special spot in the set list. They're never gonna play it like in the middle. It's either going to be the song that ends the set or it's going to be one of the encore songs. And the video is great. That was great. That was one of the first videos they ever made. And yeah, it's interesting too when we're talking about that because we were talking about how Tesla only has like two really big charting songs, only two top 40s. So it's amazing for them to sell all these albums based upon just two songs, really, and one of them was on a live album released as a single. So that just goes to show you how great this band is, and how much they're appreciated. I mean, it wasn't easy coming up with three multi-platinum albums in a row like that, um, where they didn't really have like a real big song except for Signs, and that was on a live album. So it's very
Yep.
interesting on how well they did for their career, all things considered. There, nobody else from the '80s really had that luxury there, to sell that many albums based upon how many low amount of singles. The only one I can compare them to is maybe Great White. Great White, the same thing. A cover song was their biggest charting song with Once Bitten, Twice Shy, which made
Right.
top five. And they were on the same tour together that same year. But Great White is another example of kind of like a Tesla like band. They kind of got lumped into the here too because of let's face facts. The one Face the Day was Shot in the Dark album. That one, they dressed the part, they looked it, they sounded it, and then as each successive album came out after that, you could hear how the blues took over, and that they were more of a blues based band. But Tesla pretty much they were pretty much stuck to their guns throughout their career. They never really sold out. They never dressed the part. Um, and they were just sadly lumped in with the rest of the bands, sadly. But moving on real quick to my number one, so we can get this completed here. It's a song that you had mentioned. It comes from Psychotic Supper, and this song always gives me goosebumps, especially if I ever hear it live. I don't know, there's something special about this song, and it's none other than Stir It Up. Just a great
Ah,
song. I simply love that song. I remember, seeing them. I haven't seen them play it live too many times over the years at all. 'Cause it's one of those songs they'll put in here and there, but very not too much. And just a great song. Keith's vocal on it, the guitar work, the whole song. Like you had said, just a great song from beginning to end. And simply just love it. And it's my favorite Tesla song, bar none. And that's my number one.
wow, we had a lot of different ones. I'm surprised.
Yeah, they got a Yeah, we had a couple. We had a couple. Yeah, I mean, a lot of them from the same album, but those albums, those first three, man. But even Bust a Nut, we had a couple from too. So I mean, we had a good variety there for sure.
And I rediscovered a few songs from Into the Now from 2004. I hadn't played that record in years. And two songs that really, could I say which ones
Oh
captured my
yeah.
attention? Caught in a Dream and
Yep.
Miles Away. I said, oh my God, these are great songs. I can't believe I haven't been listening to these tunes.
Yeah.
Because
Caught
I
up
just
in.
stick with the first four albums on Geffen, and they do have some really good songs later on.
Yeah.
So thanks for making me listen to all the Tesla albums.
Yeah. Caught up in a dream. Definitely. That one I actually had on my list on my honorable mentions. And at the last second, I made a change, but it would definitely be number 14.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, but it's not to take away anything from the later albums, but I guess those songs are so memorable from the earlier albums that it's just kind of hard to knock them out of the list there, just because of how long they've been around and how great of songs they are. We could probably do another list like top 10 underrated Tesla songs, and we'd be having all kinds of later material on there, I'm sure. You
I
know,
had I had 7 songs written down from the first 3 albums. So that's over 20 songs right there. And then I had it from other albums, and I had
yeah.
to chop it down. It harder task than I thought it would be.
Just imagine trying to do the Rolling Stones top 10
Oh,
songs. Oh my God, how many albums they got? Like 30?
too many.
Anyhow, well, that takes care of Tesla here. Leave your comments in the on the page below the video here. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Let us know what your songs are. Maybe we skipped over or missed something that you really like. Make sure you check out your channel. Go ahead and tell them about your channel.
Cretin Classics on YouTube. I just put up finally my Blue Oyster Cult album ranking video. I just put up another video that is a review of the newish, let's say it's a couple of months old, Deep Purple album, Equal One. So those are my 2 latest videos on the channel. So check out Cretin Classics. And thanks for having me on again, Joe.
All right. Yep. Great to have you on, and hopefully we'll have you on again in the very near future. And thanks for watching.